Now, I'm going to talk about Tokaj, the most famous, the most visible wine region in Hungary. It's been basically Hungary's calling card for more than 500 years. And I cannot emphasize enough the uniqueness of the region, the distinction of the region, the pure, exciting character of its wines. And I do emphasize this because actually, when I fell in love with Tokaj, that's when I got into the wine profession. It is because I fell in love with Tokaj Asu, the dessert wine. And from there, that's where I decided to, make wine my profession. Tokaj. Now, this is in the very northeastern part of the country. Okay, it borders Slovakia, and right nearby you have the border of Slovakia, and further down is also the Ukraine. Now, right now there are about 5,750 hectares of vineyards that are planted, and it's an area made up of 27 villages. And you have around 3,900 or so grape growers, and about 190 wineries. Now, Tokaj, as I said, is famous for its asu, which is a botrytized sweet wine, or a botrytized dessert wine. What do I mean by botrytized? The fungus Botrytis cinerea, it attacks the grape, and what it does is the grape dehydrates. It loses its moisture, and it becomes like a raisin. It's in a raisin-like state. Okay, and this is a good thing because it is those sweet raisin-like berries that make the asu wine so delicious and distinctive. I'll go into more about the process in a little bit, but I just want to tell you a little about the grape varieties that go into Tokaj. And by the way, let me add that the dessert wine or the sweet wines make up maybe around 10% or more, a little bit more, of the wines that are made in the region. Dry wines are very, very important. And there's been a big push over the last 5 years, maybe more, 5 or 10 years, of making a dry single varietal Furmint, as I mentioned before. Furmint is a very important grape, and I discovered its importance about 20 years ago of how it can be as a dry wine, a dry single varietal wine, outstanding. And it is now that they are marketing it as such because they realize, the winemakers realize what they have in this great grape. And of course, they also need it to make money. Around the world, there aren't that many people who are buying dessert wines, sweet wines. And even though Tokaj Asu is, in my opinion, but not only my opinion, one of the greatest dessert wines in the world, and you put it in the same level as Sautern or the Trockenbeerenauslese and Beerenauslese of Germany and Austria. In my opinion, it even surpasses those other wines. Sautern is great. In my opinion, Tokaj Asu is greater. Absolutely stunningly distinctive wine. You taste the terroir, you taste the grape, and if you were getting a Tokaj Asu in a blind tasting, you could pick it out. You would know it's a Tokaj Asu over a Sautern or a Trockenbeerenauslese. Guaranteed. Now, let me just mention the Tokaj. To make a Tokaj, especially the Tokaj Asu, the dessert wine, you can only use 6 grapes. There are 6 grape varieties that are allowed in the Tokaj Asu, and they are Furmint, Harschlevelu, Chaga Muscatai, or yellow muscat, also known as Muscat Blanc or Petit Grain, and 3 other ones called Zeta, Gewürztraminer, and Kabar. Now, the 2 most important ones here that I mentioned are Furmint and Haarslevelu. These, I once called them the Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers of Tokaj wine, because they are wonderful individually, but they're even better when blended in a Tokaj Asu, the dessert wine. The Furmint, now interestingly, the Furmint is a half-sibling of Riesling and Chardonnay. And Haarslevelu, one of its parents, is Furmint. So they are related, but they really, really complement each other. Furmint, you have a lot of high acidity. Let's just say generous acidity. I don't want to over exaggerate the acidity thing, but it has high acidity, but it's so nice combined with the minerality. And yes, I do use the word minerality because I think it's a very good descriptive. The minerality of the terroir combined with the stone fruit characteristics of Furmint. Okay, so you might get some peach, you might get some apricot. What does that remind you of? Riesling. And it has this reserved expression of the fruit. And then you go over to Haarslevelu, which can be a little bit smoother. Haarslevelu means linden leaf or lime leaf, and that's the kind of an aroma you can get in the Haarslevelu wine, in the grape. And, it has a more moderate acidity. So it's a little bit smoother, has a little bit of a richer character. When blended with the Furmint, it's wonderful. Now, Furmint is more susceptible to botrytis cinerea. Okay, whereas Haarslevelu is not as susceptible. It gets it, but not as susceptible like Furmint is. So again, you have this wonderful balance, okay, of how they could go together. And so the other grape varieties, the one that would be used a little more would be Chaga Muscatai, okay, having the muscat kind of a flavor or character, give it a little bit of a, sweet ripe fruit characteristic added to the Haarslevelu and Furmint. But that's only a decision of the winemaker if he's going to use it or not. But I'm emphasizing 2 grape varieties here, Furmint and Haarslevelu. Now, there are some other points I do want to make about the region before I continue to explain some of the wines. Tokaj is known for likely having the oldest vineyard classification in the world, going back to around 1700, around that time. And that was before Bordeaux or Burgundy. In 1737, the Tokaj region, there was a royal decree that said the region and its villages were permitted to use the designation, okay, known to be the first controlled appellation, Tokaj. This is pretty remarkable. The soils, as I mentioned to you, are the bedrock is tuff and volcanic rock, and you also have clay and loess. They're part of the surface. And there is extensive mineral rock throughout the entire region. It's incredible. There are some producers like the icon of Tokaj, István Szepsi, and he is such a specialist in all the different kinds of minerals that comprise the soils there. It's amazing. And when you visually see them, when the samples of rocks, if you are there and you can go to, actually, if you visit István Szepsi, his winery, you'll see a lot of the samples of the rocks. It's amazing. You feel like you can almost taste the wine, the minerality in the wine before you taste the wine. And it's quite remarkable. You have a nice continental climate there, like in the whole country. It's continental climate, very hot summers. sometimes an average temperature in Tokaj can be a little bit cooler because you're going more up to the northeast. It can have some cooler nighttime temperatures. The summers can be quite hot, but they're cooler. The temperatures are cooler up there than they are, say, down south or like around Vilan and Sexard, which I told you. That strong Pannonian influence is more affecting the southern areas, more so than the northeast. Okay, where Tokaj is. Tokaj, as I said, the Tokaj Asu, the botrytized sweet wine. In fact, it was first mentioned, there is documentation, it was first mentioned in 1571. And even the grape Fourment was first documented there in 1623. So, I think I mentioned the first vineyard classification. It was around 1700. I think it was more like the late 1600s, 1670, I believe. And so this history really goes back. Now, there is a cliche saying that Tokaj Asu, the dessert wine, is the wine of kings, the king of wines. I mean, it's always been used in history books and in marketing materials, because a lot of the wine, a lot of the Tokaj Asu was exported to the royal houses of Europe, many of the royal houses of Europe. Okay, it was so famous, and you had a lot of Tokaj, a lot of wine traders based in Tokaj to export the wines all over.